and honorable members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, today we celebrate an extraordinary Kenyan journey. 4 years of transformation, of growth, and indeed the deepening of our democracy. I want to take this opportunity to salute and to congratulate each and every Kenyan today for staying true to our solemn duty to protect, preserve, and promote our Constitution. Because of you, Kenya remains an oasis of peace and prosperity. Because of you, our country stands tall in the community of nations. Today, we celebrate a transformed Kenya. At the heart of this momentous change is without doubt Parliament. The 11th Parliament, which I liken to our first Parliament at independence, has undertaken a historic task of establishing a new constitutional order and legislating its fundamental instruments. Honorable members, you were charged with a historic task, a task to implement the new constitution that Kenyans bestowed of themselves in 2010. You have done that job well. Your commitment has put our nation on a solid legal foundation that is key to sustainable development. Fellow Kenyans and honorable members, the Constitution reminds us that our authority is a public trust to be exercised in a manner that brings honor to the nation and in full accountability to Kenyans by whom and for whom we hold that authority. We meet today to discharge our duty under that trust. Our Constitution demands that Kenyans and their representatives be informed of the state of the nation. As an accountable administration, we are obliged to explain to Kenyans what we have done with the mandate bestowed on us. It is my pleasure, therefore, to lay before this joint sitting of Parliament and pursuant to Articles 10, 132 and 240 of our Constitution of Kenya, reports regarding the state of our national security, measures taken and progress achieved in the realization of national values, and to the National Assembly, a report on the progress made in fulfilling our international obligations. Since taking my oath of office, the implementation of the Constitution of Kenya has been a key priority of my agenda. In the last 4 years, the Jubilee administration, with the help of this Parliament, has completed our constitutional implementation. During this phase, Parliament has passed, and I have assented to, 136 laws. Our democracy has matured. I took office as an embodiment of the transition to a new constitutional order. And since then, there has been a number of significant transitions. We have witnessed a momentous transition in the judiciary. Today, as we speak, we have a full bench in the Supreme Court, led by the second Chief Justice under the new constitutional dispensation. I take this opportunity to welcome the new Chief Justice, the Honorable Justice David Maraga, and his deputy, the Honorable Justice Philomena Mwilu. I reiterate to them once again the support of my administration to the attainment of an independent and honest judiciary. Our constitutional order delivers independent arms of government, while its spirit requires interdependence for our citizens, in whom all sovereign power resides, to be served fairly and effectively. Another significant transition has taken place with the renewal of our electoral body, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. This transition demonstrated our ability to navigate a complex political challenge and averted a constitutional crisis. I congratulate the old IEBC team for a job well done, and I pledge support to the new team. I have full confidence that this team is capable of delivering a credible election, and I call on all Kenyans to provide space for the IEBC to operate as an independent body as it undertakes its important national duties. During this period, my administration has supported the effective functioning of independent bodies. We believe in the value that these bodies add to our national fabric because they protect individual rights and ensure fair play and equal treatment for all. It is important that we accept and protect the role of independent offices and that we work within the bounds of our constitutional order. Undoubtedly, constitutional bodies should be held to account in the fulfillment of their mandates. However, it should be remembered that attempts to subvert this constitutional framework damages our democracy, undermines the rule of law, and weakens our institutional development and our nation. Fellow Kenyans, a significant pillar of our transformation in the past 4 years is the realization of the long-standing aspiration of the people of Kenya for devolution. This has been a historic undertaking that has few peers anywhere in the world. Indeed, one of my proudest achievements as president has been to chaperone the implementation of a devolved system of government. My administration has gone over and beyond the constitutional requirement by increasing the percentage of shareable revenues from the 15% required by the Constitution to 34%. We have also supplemented the development agenda of our county governments through conditional grants in areas such as health and water to manage what has been a complex transformation. My administration has engaged at the highest level through the summit and through the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council that is chaired by the Deputy President. My administration has also accelerated the transfer of functions and personnel to the county governments in accordance with Article 187, as well as the fourth schedule of the Constitution. As we together march forward, I believe we will build a stronger framework for intergovernmental cooperation to resolve any challenges that may emerge. And to this end, I have directed the Attorney General, in consultation with the Council of Governors, to review the scope and mandate of the Intergovernmental Technical Relations Committee. Honorable members, championing of devolution goes beyond the legal processes of implementation. By making this the timely transfer of funds far above the constitutional threshold and our smooth implementation of the transfer of functions, a welcome economic dynamism has emerged in our counties. Our support for devolution has driven us to seek out and implement, in partnership with county governments, projects that have a real and positive impact on county residents. It is due to such an effort that today the people of Wajir now have their first tarmac roads in history. Our support has ensured that the residents of Morogash in Garissa have witnessed their first cesarean section in their county. Our strong collaboration with the county government of Lamu has enabled the rehabilitation of a previously dilapidated King Fahd Hospital, as well as the addition of a new accident and emergency care center. This new facility, which will start its operations next month, will transform the health outcomes for the residents of Lamu County by offering dialysis, X-ray, emergency operations, and ICU services that were previously unavailable. In counties like Uasin Gishu and Narok, we are collaborating to build new stadia. Our joint efforts with the county government of Turkana has led to the successful implementation of a government-driven livestock insurance and compensation program, a first in Kenya and African history. The national government has been able to provide street lights in all county headquarters and to 36 other towns across the country, and this has injected economic vibrancy into previously sleepy towns. Fellow Kenyans, together we are champions of devolution. We believe in it. We have worked and will continue to work in order for it to deliver its full benefits to Kenyans. Honorable Speakers, honorable members, fellow Kenyans, my oath of office decrees as my essential duty the protection of Kenyans and the preservation of our territorial integrity. This duty is all the more significant in light of our being a frontier state against global terrorism. Furthermore, our location in a fragile, conflict-prone region whose challenges are transnational means that our ability to secure the nation is fundamental to achieving our collective aspirations. In 2011, we made a historic decision. We sent our young men and women across the border in pursuit of an enemy dedicated to the destruction of our region and our motherland. Since then, and in collaboration with regional as well as international allies, we have robbed the enemy of territory, resources, and control over people. Still, the threat remains, and therefore we continue our mission in Somalia. We know that if we fight the enemy in Somalia, we won't have to fight them here at home. Our engagement as part of AMISOM has yielded significant success. We have degraded the capacity of Al-Shabaab to carry out large-scale attacks in Kenya and indeed elsewhere. Our efforts together have led to the establishment of successive civilian governments in Somalia, including the recently concluded successful and peaceful election and transition to the President, Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed. Fellow Kenyans, in defense of our motherland and in fulfilling our international obligations to pursue peace and security, we have in the process lost some of our gallant officers. These losses remind us every day of the threat that is upon us. I stand here today to say that these gallant sons and daughters of Kenya have not fallen in vain. Their sacrifice for our freedom and our homeland strengthens our resolve. We shall remain unbowed, Kenya shall prevail, and our democracy will endure. Before I continue, I would kindly request that we all be upstanding for a moment of silence to honor our men and women in uniform who face the enemy daily and who have pledged their lives to protect the sovereignty, freedoms, and liberty espoused by our nation. I thank you. Fellow Kenyans, even as we recognize the sacrifices that have been made so far, we do appreciate that the war is not yet won. And I urge each and every one of you to stand firm in the support of our men and women as we continue our critical mission in Somalia. Honorable members, as you all know, my administration has been actively involved in the peace process in South Sudan on a bilateral and multilateral basis. While the situation remains unresolved, it is my administration's desire to have a stable and peaceful South Sudan, because our future, as well as our prosperity, is intertwined with that of our neighbors. Our efforts remain central to the search for a lasting solution. However, much more needs to be done to bridge the differences between the conflicting parties. In this regard, during my recent meeting with the Secretary General of the United Nations, I assured him of Kenya's unwavering commitment within the IGAD framework and other bilateral and multilateral efforts to contribute towards a durable solution. Fellow Kenyans, our engagement in the search for security in the region is critical. Failure to do this would translate to insecurity within our borders. On the home front, the incessant intercommunal conflicts and other criminal acts, including cattle rustling and poaching, are sustained by an inflow of illegal small arms and light weapons, as well as marauding bandits operating across the border. Furthermore, threats such as terrorism feed off transnational crimes such as drug and human trafficking, as well as piracy. These risks have largely been brought under control over the last 4 years through a series of actions. We have built a well-coordinated multi-agency approach to ensure public safety and security. We have invested in better equipment, training, and working tools. We have also increased the number of police officers. It will be remembered that in the Jubilee Manifesto, we promised to push the ratio of police officers below the existing, at that time, 1 officer for every 800 citizens. Today, I am pleased to report that we have kept our promise. Our ratio of police to the population is 1 officer to every 380 citizens. Better than the prescribed UN ratio of 1 officer for every 450 citizens. Our counter-terrorism efforts have delivered a sharp reduction in the number of fatalities, attacks, and attempts by terrorist entities. Added to the strong effort to dismantle terrorist operational capabilities, the government has increased its focus also on preventing and reducing the motivations underlying radicalization and recruitment into terrorism. Our national strategy to counter violent extremism is bearing fruit. This strategy is addressing radicalization by combining the efforts of diverse actors from the state to civil society organizations, the private sector, and religious organizations to protect our democracy. This achievement takes on an even greater significance as the world learns that we are one of the few, if not the only country, that has expanded its civil liberties while on the front line of fighting terrorism. Our war on illegal drugs is steadily being won. The streamlining of activities at our ports of entry, especially the port of Mombasa, have resulted in rising successes against drug trafficking cartels. We are actively cooperating with several foreign law enforcement agencies to identify and bring to book the individuals involved in the international narcotics trade. I want to assure the families of the thousands of young men and women across the country who are victims of the drug trade that my government will facilitate access to rehabilitation. I also wish to assure those distraught mothers who have pleaded with me during my recent visits to the coast that my administration will catch up with the drug lords who are poisoning our children. We shall hold them to account for the deaths they have caused and the families that they continue to destroy. Honorable members, these successes notwithstanding, we are still confronted by lawlessness and violence in the form of banditry in parts of the North Rift and Laikipia. I wish to reiterate again that my administration cannot and will not condone the blatant violation of the rights guaranteed in our Constitution. And we will use all means at our disposal to pursue and bring to justice all those involved in causing this mayhem. I take this opportunity to warn politicians in the affected areas to stop incitement to any form of violence for you will indeed be held to account. In the last 4 years, my administration has worked hard to make Kenya an attractive destination for investment. I wish to reaffirm our commitment to the rule of law and to assure all domestic and foreign investors that we as a nation are open for business. I do appreciate that the drought we are currently experiencing has adversely impacted a significant portion of our population, and more so our pastoral communities whose livestock lack pasture and water. To our elected leaders at all levels, I urge you to work with both the national administration as well as the county governments to ensure that all our people have access to drought assistance packages availed by the government, including the livestock offtake program that was recently launched. Asante mama, wewe ndio umenikumbuka. Thank you. We will continue to ensure the orderly strategy of protecting and promoting the interests of our country. My administration is clear about its direction and sense of purpose. It is clear about its economic development agenda for Kenya. Indeed, when we were campaigning for the leadership of this country 4 years ago, we were clear on what our plans would be to establish a strong foundation for our country to prosper economically. While appreciating what our predecessors have achieved, we recognize that Kenya needs a transformation to support manufacturing and the knowledge and infrastructure it requires. It is from this transformation that plentiful and decent jobs can be delivered to our youth. To begin the walk towards industrialization, we needed to drastically improve and expand our infrastructure to increase access to electricity and diversify our energy sources. We needed to invest in our healthcare system and to recalibrate our education sector and make it fit for the future. We needed to strengthen our security and change our policies to encourage investment in industries and light manufacturing. That is what we have undertaken to do as an administration with the support of the Kenyan people. Allow me, honorable members, to highlight where we are 4 years later in keeping our promises and following through on our commitments as a result of the substantial changes that we have made to our business framework. For 2 years in a row, Kenya has been ranked as the third most improved country globally according to the World Bank Ease of Doing Business Index. We promised that we were going to build a new railway from Mombasa to Malaba through Kisumu, and that we would complete the first phase from Mombasa to Nairobi before June 2017. Honorable members, we have kept the promise. Due also to the establishment of factories for the manufacturing of steel reinforced slippers and T-beams, small towns like Gadekani in Mutito Wandei and Emali are experiencing an economic boom. Indeed, I take this opportunity to invite you, honorable members, to join me in June as we ride the inaugural train from Mombasa to Nairobi. Asante. Indeed, in 2013, we promised to undertake the most aggressive road construction program ever witnessed in Kenyan history. Today, with 1,950 kilometers of new roads completed and another 7,000 kilometers under different phases of construction, we have kept the promise. The impact of these roads can be felt across the country. The citizens of Moyale, who used to spend 3 days on the road traveling to Nairobi, can now make that same journey in under 7 hours. From one bus a day 12 months ago, today 30 buses a day are plying that route. This has brought a new economic dynamic to towns such as Moyale, Turbi, and Marsabit. In Homa Bay County, the residents of Rusinga Island now have a brand new bridge linking them to Beta and improving the safety of transport in the lake region. In Taveta, banana farmers in Kimundia and Bohoni can now get their produce to markets in Mombasa in under 4 hours as the Mwatate Taveta Road nears completion. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a road that has been promised by 4 different governments, including the colonial one, for the last 55 years, but has only been promised and delivered by one, the Jubilee government. In Kilifi, the construction of the 51-kilometer Mariakani Bamba Road means that the farmer's song, Safari Oya, Safari Bamba ni Machero. This song, honorable members, now needs to be recomposed to Safari ya Bamba Nirero. Yeah. In 2013, we promised to connect every county to fiber optic technology in order to ease access to information. Today, every county headquarters is connected to fiber, and 50% of all sub-county headquarters are also connected. We have kept that promise. In 2013, we promised to provide access to electricity to households in Kenya. Today, we have connected an additional 3.7 million new homes to electricity. We have more than doubled in 4 years the total number of connections made since independence. This has meant for Jacob Shirandula of Ubuya village in Malava and Nancy Ekeno of Ogliagei village in Joro, being connected to the grid has changed their lives for the better, alongside that of millions of other Kenyans. We have indeed kept the promise. In 2013, we promised to connect electricity to all public primary schools by 2017. Today, having connected an additional 14,045 schools, representing over 98% of all public